All right. Well, first time trying this format, which feels more like a download with a friend. So let's see what this goes. But the idea here is just to give you a little bit of a download of my week, and okay, it's just like some of the things that are in my mind. Go through some of the experiences, and this was a crazy week. So I think this is a great week to experiment with this format. If you don't know me, I'm Santiago Zavala. I'm a global managing partner at 500. I've been investing in Latin America for many, many years, and then I'm also a hacker, and I love coding. And of course, with AI, everything's changing. If you do know me, then let me just give you some context of this week, and then we can get started. So we have a big portfolio in Latin America. We have hundreds of companies that we've invested in. We've been very active investing recently. And of course, if you have a portfolio of companies in anywhere in the world doing startups, right now, I'm sure they are looking at San Francisco as a very important place where things are just happening. So last year, we decided to start trying to do this experiment that we call the Takeover, where we're trying to bring companies to spend more time in the Bay Area. Last year, we brought something like 20 people to spend 3 weeks, 2 weeks at the office, and then 1 week at the Tech Week, San Francisco Tech Week. And it was super cool. We came back to Mexico to a founder retreat where we had over 100 founders who came from other places of Latin America. And some of the people who came to the Takeover were sharing how impactful it was to spend some weeks in the Bay Area, and some of the stories of what happened, lessons learned, and everything. So we really iterated on this time, and this time we're going to be almost like a total of 50 people. And we started last week. We had 35 people join from the beginning of the adventure, and then this week we have more people who are going to be adding in. And this time we changed a lot of things. We, instead of doing it at the office in Palo Alto and having people stay at Airbnbs or arrange their accommodations, we're able to do something very cool, which is that we partnered with the Residency, which is this group who is managing these amazing houses and running these programs where people can co-live in these big houses and have the program be there. So we partner with them, and they let us use one of their houses. And we have like 15 of the people in the team in the experience. They are staying there, and then we're able to find this amazing founder hotel that is very affordable and is very nearby. So the rest of the crew is staying mostly there, and it's a 10-minute walk, so they can walk in the morning, and they come kind of like almost as a group. And then during the day, we have some activities. We are trying to bring some people who are familiar and close to the network of 500, and people that we know and that we have worked with and that have inspired us to also share that inspiration and some advice with the companies. We did some sessions this week. They were mostly fireside chats, and this time it was mostly me just interviewing these people and then hearing QA from the founders. And then the founders worked really hard during the whole week. Of course, they're operating their companies. They also, went and explored. They went to events. They used their network to also have one-on-one meetings. And we have 2 more weeks in front of us. So it was a crazy week. Last time I remember, I was very tired after the 3 weeks. And that was just, interacting with the companies and these activities from, getting to the office and then leaving the office. But now it's like you wake up and you're kind of like already there. We have some founders from Uruguay, and because of the time change and just kind of like their preference, one of them wakes up at 4 a.m. and he starts working. So every day that I've been up, even like early, like the first thing that you see, in the common space is like one founder already kind of like locked in and just working, which is, kind of like sets the mood for the rest of the day. And then, of course, there's people who are staying late and also working. As an investor, I think like a lot of times you just forget a little bit about how hard founders work. Especially, like in early stage, you don't get to see the whole story, but just staying in the same place, 24/7. It's a very strong reminder. And for me and Regina from the team this week, I think like it was. We're also, I feel like, pretty locked in general, but I feel like this week we're even more just by the inspiration of the founders. And of course, you get no distractions, like you're a little bit, far from family, routines, hobbies, and everything. So you can just like go in and the energy of the city and the speakers and everything and the founders kind of like leads to that. So that was very interesting. I can share a little bit of the sessions that we had and some of the experiences and insights. So we started the first session with Kylie, who's also a managing partner. We have been working together for like 13 years now. But he started with Vishal what we're doing in Southeast Asia, as I started what we're doing in Spanish-speaking Latin America. So it's interesting to contrast both stories, but both stories right now are leading us as so many other people to be looking at San Francisco and the Bay Area as a place to be. He recently moved here, so and he's bringing also a lot of their portfolio companies and trying to do more things in the city. So it's super interesting. And during the session, we really try to kick off like this experience, trying to give a little bit of a framework and format and propose some activities, also some reflection. I had some numbers that I wanted to contrast between LATAM and the Bay Area. We have a few founders from Europe and Asia also joining. So Kylie was also, like able to share the way that he's been thinking of these comparisons and numbers. But like altogether, what we were looking at is that in LATAM, there's like $4 billion raised a year, or at least last year in venture capital. For Southeast Asia, that's $5 billion. And then in Silicon Valley, if you remove the mega rounds, it's probably something around like 2 or 3 billion per week. So, like this crazy idea that in 2 weeks there's the same amount of money raised in the Bay Area than just all of last year in Southeast Asia and LATAM, like that's very explosive. And then talking with the founders, of course, like some of the discussions and reflections that we had was around, like there's a lot of capital concentrated and talent and opportunities in the Bay Area, but the best things and a lot of that concentration of capital and talent is going to the best companies. So first of all, having like the opportunity to spend time here and actually understand what that bar is, like what does being the best of the best in the world in startups, like looks like, and what does that even mean? And then we try to get that into 3 different pillars or frameworks. One is about like actually making things happen and doing everything that is in your power to go and do that. Another one is just the willingness to change, because you might want to think bigger, you might want to achieve things, but if you're not willing to change anything, then you're just going to continue to achieve whatever you're achieving right now. And then the third one is just thinking bigger. And we think like those 3 things are very interconnected. So we invited the founders to try to challenge themselves during these 3 weeks, pick whichever one of those 3 they are the weaker at, and then work on that during the week. And we actually made small groups of people who are going to be doing that in each one of these 3, so that they can meet daily and have like a small stand-up. It also helps like the different companies know each other and have a support system, break a little bit of the co-founder or like the team dynamics, where they can talk about their issues with other companies and have contrast and everything. So that was pretty cool. Then after that, we had Albert Lee, who's one of the co-founders with his brother of MyFitnessPal. Amazing story. They bootstrapped for many years. They obsessed around trying to support their customers, actually do behavior change, make their lives better through calorie counting, and with that, like all the health benefits that come with that. And then like they raised a 1 round and then had a relatively big exit, like more than $400 million. And then work at Under Armour, and we're able to pick his brain about like the whole transformation of like these consumer apps landscape, and of course what he thinks like AI can or not change in that world. So that was a really nice talk. And then we finished the day sharing some kind of like ideas and concept of how to network in the Bay Area, how to take more advantage of this experience. And we even gave them some challenges, randomly assigned, of things to do in the Bay Area. Some of them are very fun, like trying to win a hackathon or trying to get like a specific meeting, go to a specific cafe and try to get customer feedback. So we really spent a little bit of time preparing those challenges, and we hope that the founders actually do them. Some of them have already done them. And there's already like some crazy anecdotes. Just a few hours ago, one of the founders shared a selfie with the founder and CEO of Cursor, who he was just like having like lunch at the same restaurant. They ended up like talking and taking a selfie, which like that's very amazing, and it inspires everyone else to just go and try to get into interesting conversations, meet amazing people, etc. Then on day two, on Tuesday, we invited Juanpa, who's a great developer and a great, just community organizer on the developer side. I knew him from Mexico. I've seen his work here in the Bay Area, and he was able to come in, share a lot with us about just how the developer ecosystem works, everything that's happening around dev tools, a lot of his perspectives around AI and how to really try to judge the different models, the spaces, the cost, and many other things. So we had a very geeky conversation. And then after that, we worked for the rest of the day. And then in the afternoon, we went to Roblox to meet with Sebas Barrios, who is one of the founders of Jaxi, a company that we invested back in 2011. Then from there, he moved to so he was acquired by Cabify, a bigger ride-hailing company. He became the CTO in that company, and then he was recruited many years later to lead all the developer teams in Mercado Libre. So at some point, he managed an organization. When he started, that was like 8,000 people. At the end of that experience was 20,000 people. This is a $100 billion market cap company doing fintech, logistics, e-commerce, and many other things. And then from there, he recently, like 9 months ago, moved to manage the tech team, or like the engineers at Roblox. And he's been there for 9 months. So it was very interesting. Last time we also talked with him, and it was interesting to see, like how he's enjoying working with a 100% software company that is in the Bay Area, how it's different. It's a little bit smaller, but it's obviously doing less things. So it's very interesting. And the conversation with him, there's a great podcast from Lenny's podcast, and there's also a Startup Piable podcast with him. So you should absolutely listen to Sebas to get this idea. But the crazy part, like talking with him, was that he really, really, really has very simple concepts. Like he doesn't have, like any sophisticated framework or like very, complex advice. He's like, you have to have great people. If you don't have the best people, do any change that you can, good communication and how that looks like. And he's very calm. And I feel like it was really interesting for me as I've always interacted with him and seen him grow in his career. Look, that his seniority is really the capability of taking, such a complicated, missions that they are trying to achieve, different teams, politics, competition and everything, and turn that into very simple and clear strategies that feel calm, that feel like direct clarity, and that's really amazing. I think like we all left that room saying like, wow, like we really as founders need to achieve that level of clarity of what we're trying to do and be able to share that with our different stakeholders. Then on Wednesday, we had a crazy, amazing experience, which was to receive Ali Mois. He is a founder in a portfolio who is building his third company. And we interacted a lot with him during the pandemic because one of the companies that he created, and now he has pivoted, and it's the same company now. But at that moment, it was Stunks, and they were doing online demo days. And we use that a lot online, and I got to see the energy that he has around trying to bring capital and attention to founders everywhere in the world. And he's just such a kind person and an energetic person, and I've seen him iterate through all of this. His previous two companies he sold for an aggregate of $200 million. One of them, a company that I used to use as a customer, Streamlabs. So it was very fun to, see, work with him later. And now he recently wrote a book called 3 Startups, 40 Pivots. And it's just like his story from each one of these companies, how they evolve, how all the challenges that they had. And I think like the book is not trying to give you like lessons learned or like something that you can take as a founder and be like, oh, this is the key to success. I think the book is trying to do two things through being very crude about the reality of the challenge and the pain that just building a startup is. And by doing that, it really fuels you because first you feel like, oh, like I'm not alone, like this thing is hard, and it's not like, like rosy, and like this very romanticized version of entrepreneurship. It's like the actual truth of how painful it is. And it's nice to see someone who went through something like that, and just by sheer determination of not dying and finding the next thing and extending the runway, was able to ultimately have these great outcomes. And now he's going through it again, and even after having done it twice, he doesn't have all the answers. You can definitely see through the story that he becomes better at those pivots, and management and teams and fundraising and network and everything. But it's still like it's always hard and very interesting. And I think the second thing that he's trying to do is to really change a little bit of this mindset, where it seems like we're always thinking of the runway of the startups as the money that they have left to operate, when in reality it seems like the energy of the founders is way more important. And like he has this idea of like energy as capital for the startup, and I totally agree. And then that was most of what we did on Wednesday. Then, like we tried to get a lot of the activities ideally more towards the start of the week. Then on Thursday, we brought Enzo, who is a principal at Rich Capital. He's also a very recognized podcaster in Latin America around entrepreneurship, now also doing content in English. And he's been living in the Bay Area for 4 years. He's, like a very knowledgeable investor. He's also a great entrepreneur through his content business. And it was great to just get him in the house and have this deep conversation around how, he has worked for 3 funds, so how, what he has learned about building conviction, how a deal actually happens, just the dynamics inside of a fund, how which kind of like investment thesis he's looking at right now, and then talk about his content business and how that has supported his career and what he's thinking with that. And then we talked a lot about like just being in San Francisco. What does that mean? I think like he had like some very, I don't want to say controversial, but like very different advice to what maybe even I think, and it's super worthwhile to have a different of opinions. But he's like, hey, don't go to big conferences. It's that you'll get a lot of like more corporate people or more like tourist people who are also coming to the Bay Area. Because like he mentioned, like some of his best friends in the industry, he met them through just playing football. And then he also like has this advice of saying like, hey, like few weeks is not enough. Like you have to come and actually either spend longer here or find a way to move. And I feel like we had a very strong conversation there that has been a theme with everyone around, as I mentioned at the beginning, like that think big and what does that mean? And he was saying like San Francisco, different to maybe a lot of people coming from other markets, in our case from LATAM, it's really not about a scarcity where there's few resources and then you have to fight for them and then you have to protect them and then like show that you were like very careful with them. It's more about abundance. And he was like, hey, there's more capital here. The scarcity is really on great founders who are good at executing really big ideas. So if you are executing at that level, capital will follow. And I think like Ali also mentioned that, like don't chase investors, chase customers, and then investors will chase you. And then with Enzo, I feel like he was able to really like remind me and kind of like make me see again that in some other places where we don't have the resources readily available, we might always be thinking like, hey, how do I do this in the most scrappy way? Maybe I need to do like an MVP, learn as much as I can, get some traction, and then maybe I'll be able to get more resources. So we're always kind of like hesitating or trying to be in a very careful forward movement. While here, maybe if you think like, hey, what's the best version, like the world-class version of what I'm building that is going to change the world, that is going to change this industry, and then act on building that, then with confidence, like you're gonna find the resources to do it as you move forward. And that's very challenging. Like that it requires removing years of the way that we think, at least coming from LATAM, and that's super interesting. Like that's the challenge, and that's why we're here. So that was interesting. Then on Friday, we didn't have anything scheduled, and some people went to some events, some people just work. I heard some people had like some like investor meetings, and it was super fun. Couple of things to mention there. I personally through a very long story, ended up getting invited to world's lift off event. So this is Tools Against Humanity, Tools for Humanity. Sorry, not Cards Against Humanity. So Tools for Humanity, they have this mechanism to validate that you're a human, and that's going to be very relevant in the AI world. This is a project also related to Sam Altman, and they had like this huge event. They had like 1 hour of just announcing new features. They call it like World 4.0, and they have a couple of things, and it's kind of like complicated, but I'll try to summarize it. So they have these orbs that is like a piece of hardware where you can identify yourself as a human, and then you get a wallet, like a crypto wallet, that really like that you can use in the future through a selfie to identify that you're that human. And that works for, if you're online and you want to validate that you're actually talking to a human and not to a deepfake or to a bot, then you at that moment can verify yourself. I feel like I was not necessarily ignoring this project, that like I knew about it, but I had never purposely just like dived in. And just by being there, which was extremely lucky and a great opportunity, and hearing from Sama and from some of like the people working on this, first they ran a pilot in Japan with Tinder to verify profiles. That apparently worked really well. They're expanding that to other places, and Verify Humans will get some of the premium features for free. So it's kind of like motivating you to validate yourself. They announced a partnership with Zoom, with Okta. They announced a partnership with Vercel and with Shopify. So a lot of different partnerships. So this seems to be like a good moment to maybe like pay attention to this. For me, like being in a Zoom call and be able to like take a selfie through this app and through the bio data that they had from the orb, be able to validate that you're talking with a human, like that makes sense. That it's a great feature to have to avoid deepfakes. One piece that I liked a lot was that they have like a similar way to validate that you have an agent that you want to delegate an action. So I was able to use one of their demos to create an agent that had my world identity as a delegate. So it's a bot. So it's saying, hey, I'm an agent, but I'm an agent, representing Santiago, to go to Shopify through their official integration and buy something for me. This has a wallet, so you could potentially even use that as a payment method. So that was pretty cool. And I feel like it's a good moment to pay some attention to that. Now, next week is going to be crazy. So I'm trying to like just Saturday and Sunday try to do like nothing tech related. But like I was able to go and see my family, which is great. I was able to, I'm gonna like do a couple of 2 different sessions of music, one in Audium and another one in Envelope SF, which are like these listening rooms. And like I feel like that's very exciting because next week is going to be packed. We have Bismarck Lepe, one of the early employees of Google. We have Luis, who's the CTO of Replit, and he's a Mexican. We have like David Wickley is coming in the house. We're talking with Shield from BTV. We have like all these like amazing speakers. And then on Saturday, we have Release Before Ready, which is a hackathon we're doing at the Frontier Tower. On Wednesday, we have a Cloud Code for Latinos event. And then next week we have like 2 big conferences. We have a startup sessions, Stripe sessions, and we have a startup grind happening, almost overlapping. So it's going to be a crazy couple of weeks. But the summary of all of this is that it does feel like a whirlwind, like a little bit of like a lot of things. Being here, listening to people, just the speed, seeing that it feels like there's so many resources in the city, and so many amazing entrepreneurs and investors are trying to do as much as possible. That it feels like a great place to be, to validate. That if you want to build something that is more global, you have to compete at the highest levels, and part of that is really doing that change that I was saying about thinking of abundance and trying to build the best version of it. So kind of wanted to share a couple of extra things. One of them, I feel like one of the most beautiful moments of the week is that one of the most successful and inspiring entrepreneurs who's participating on this, she's a great founder, and like she's just, her company is doing great, and we're just working hard on trying to support her growth and try to remove any friction that we can on her path. She's going to be recording a cool like podcast next week, and she mentioned like, hey, like public speaking is not like one of my strengths, and I'm recording this next week, so I want to practice. And I've seen a lot of founders and people just in general who, when they find a weakness like that, they either avoid doing those activities, or when they have to do them, maybe like they don't lean into the pain and kind of like want to do it. And like she was just like, hey, let's do pitch prep, let's record, let's get some audience, give me feedback, and she did it like a few times. And I think like that was a very interesting moment of just reminding myself that if you have a weakness, if you're not like on your strongest skill, but something is important, the best thing that you can do is, instead of trying to ignore it or avoid it or delegate it somehow, like what happens if you just lean in? Like I feel like that was like a very unique and cool moment. I don't know, there's been so many cool moments. We also had this moment where one of the technical founders from a company that it's the second time we invest in this team, and he's just like a great technical founder, and we just invested in this other company that is just like a few weeks ago we invested, and they had this roadmap for the product, and when they gave me some of their timelines, I was like, no, you have to go faster. And it's not just like an investor saying like, oh, go faster, like do more. It was more like, hey, like I want you to talk with this other technical founder, just show them what you're doing and see if there's anything that you can do to accelerate. And they spent like 6 hours just like hanging out together. And when I was just about to go to sleep that day, I asked them like, hey, what are you doing? And they were like, we're almost done with our roadmap. Like they were just like, working really hard using all the AI tools, and they were able to do things that they were a little bit stuck, or they didn't know how to move fast. And with this support, they were able to move really fast, like take something that was originally thinking like would take weeks to just turn it into like it's done, which was very amazing. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, crazy week, very fun. I feel very fortunate to be here, and I feel like this format is very interesting, and hopefully if you're watching this 27 minutes later, please do leave me a comment. I feel like it's a great discipline if someone wants to do this every week and share so transparently like activities and ideas and whatever. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, would love to read you on the comments. And yeah, let me know if this is something that I should do more often, because I do find it enjoyable. It's almost like I took a little bit of a walk to get here. I was thinking like, wow, what should I say on this video? And then like being here, it really felt like catching up with a friend, or like talking with someone and saying like, hey, how was your week? And then just like like sharing everything. A couple of other things that I had in my mind. Yeah, I mean, like definitely I feel like being here and talking with all the founders and seeing them iterating and trying to understand, product market fit, challenging themselves. As an investor, it really like gives you a lot of idea of how the day-to-day actually works, which like a reminder, but then also kind of like puts a mirror on like, what am I doing, right? And what's kind of like funny on that is that, so I've been doing a lot of different projects, like just like content is one of them. So I've been asking myself like, hey, how does applying that like think big and kind of like define kind of like a very big area audacious thing instead of doing an MVP would look like with my own content strategy? How would that look like in the hackathons we're doing, like release before ready? Even how would that look like for the takeover as a concept? So I think it's very interesting, and that's one extra piece where if you have any feedback or advice or ideas for anything that you see that we're doing at 500 that we could be more ambitious about, like that's something I would love to hear. But yeah, that's a quick check-in, just half an hour, and a great, beautiful moment at the park. So thanks for listening.